The movie begins with a police officer traveling on a bus. He arrives at the newly constructed police station after recently being transferred. After entering the police station, he asks one of the officers about our protagonist, who's in the station with wounds. He inquires if he is Ram Babu, and the officer confirms, saying yes. With this, we now need to know why Ram Babu is in the station, and the story moves back to a flashback. Ram Babu works as a television operator, providing television services to people. He has an assistant who collects money from those using the network. Ram Babu is a movie enthusiast, watching at least 3 to 4 movies daily. He frequents a tea stall for his tea breaks. One day, while having tea, he notices 2 elderly individuals looking sad and waiting for Officer Vera. Vera is a corrupt police officer who often demands bribes. Curious about their situation, Ram Babu inquires, and the elderly couple explains that Vera took their son to the station. Their son had borrowed money from a company and was unable to repay, leading to harassment by Vera. The tea shop owner reveals that Vera is exploiting the situation to torment the elderly couple, who are uneducated and unaware of their rights. Realizing the potential harm from Vera if they report to higher authorities, Ram Babu suggests consulting a lawyer. However, the tea shop owner laments their lack of money for legal proceedings. Recalling a movie scene where a lawyer discusses habeas corpus, Ram Babu shares the idea with the elderly couple. He explains that habeas corpus can protect them, as it empowers the court to order the search for their son without interference from Vera or anyone else. From this, we learn that even though Ram Babu only completed education up to the 4th standard, his extensive movie knowledge enabled him to resolve an issue. Now, let's discuss our protagonist. He has a wife and 2 daughters, and they reside in a beautiful house situated in the middle of his 5 acres of land. Ram Babu usually works night shifts at his office. This is because his television network might experience issues during rainy weather, requiring him to stay late and address the complaints people make. Ram Babu has a mother-in-law and a father-in-law. Despite being an orphan himself, his father-in-law arranged his marriage to his daughter. Ram Babu's father-in-law, Rajesh, works as a news reporter. One day, Ram Babu's older daughter, Anju, asks her mother about attending a nature camp organized by their school. Although her mother refuses, she manages to ask her dad, Ram Babu, who agrees to let her go. Interestingly, when Ram Babu gives permission to his daughter, his wife also asks him to take her and the kids shopping. Finally, Ram Babu has no option but to accept it. Later, their family goes shopping in another city. After all that, Ram Babu's daughter goes on her trip and returns. After all this one day, while all their family members were happily chatting, Ram Babu asks his older daughter, Anju, about the nature camp. She explains that everything went well, but there was an issue involving the son of an inspector general whose name is Varun, who took pictures of some girls. This escalated into a chaotic situation. One day, there is a minor clash between Ram Babu and Inspector Vera, but the villagers in the village manage to intervene and stop it. Up until this point, Ram Babu's life goes well. One day, Ram Babu's older daughter Anju is walking on the road when suddenly the son of Inspector General Varun stops his car in front of her. The scene cuts here. Now Ram Babu's wife becomes worried as her daughter still hasn't come home. Finally, Ram Babu's wife relaxes after seeing her older daughter Anju at home. However, Anju's face is now filled with fear. The scene cuts to where the son of Inspector General Varun stops his car in front of Anju while she is walking alone. Varun shows Anju a video of her changing her clothes, which was taken during their visit to the nature camp. He threatens to upload it on the internet if she doesn't comply with his demands. He instructs Anju to meet him in the backyard of her house at midnight. It's 10 p.m. The scene cuts to Ram Babu's office, where he remains alone. His assistant leaves the office at night. The scene then shifts to Varun, who tries to sneak into Rambabu's backyard. He notices that Anju is also waiting for him. Suddenly, the lights turn on in a room where they have gathered, and Varun sees Anju's mother is also there. Anju's mother pleads with Varun to delete the video from his mobile, but Varun refuses to delete it and demands that she leave her daughter and go away. However, her mother refuses and attempts to snatch the mobile from Varun's hand. Both Anju and her mother are physically weak, so they can't snatch the phone from Varun's hand. Taking advantage of this, Varun tries to take advantage on Anju's mother. The scene shifts, and it is now morning. Rambabu returns home, and upon his arrival, he finds his wife and both daughters crying. The day flashes back to the previous night when Varun was trying to force Anju's mother. Witnessing this, Anju becomes enraged and grabs an iron rod, striking Varun on the head. Varun dies on the spot. As it's the rainy season, they try to call Rambabu, but the phone doesn't work. It's dead. After confirming Varun's state, Rambabu's wife and his daughter Anju try to pack Varun's body inside a bag. All of this is witnessed by Rambabu's elder daughter. Rambabu's wife and his older daughter Anju then drag the bag and bury it in their backyard. The scene shifts again to the morning, where Rambabu is staring at the place where the body is buried. The scene shifts, introducing a new character aside from our Inspector General. The husband of our Inspector General is named Prabha. When he tries to call his son's mobile is unreachable. He asks his wife about their son and she responds, "Don't disturb him. He might be busy with something else." Our police officer's name is Gita. Gita's husband, Prabha, knows more about Varun. He tells Gita that giving Varun too much freedom might spoil him. Based on this argument, there is a disagreement between Gita and Prabha about Varun. Here we clearly understand that Gita always wants to support her son Varun, even if he is wrong. She consistently backs him up. Now, the scene shifts back to Rambabu watching the graveyard from a window. Now, Rambabu's wife asks him if she did anything wrong. She wasn't even afraid while burying him, but now she is more scared about what could happen. She asks Rambabu, "What should we do now?" Rambabu responds, "I don't know." Rambabu's wife asks him if they should inform the police about what happened. Rambabu responds, "Varun is the son of the Inspector General. If they find out that we killed their son, with their influence, they won't spare us. Our eldest daughter's life will be ruined if the police find out." From this point on, the story becomes even more intriguing as Rambabu decides to protect his family at any cost. Suddenly, Rambabu's eldest daughter Anju rushes to him and hands him Varun's car keys, saying she found them on the ground. This makes Rambabu realize that Varun arrived in a car. Now, Rambabu decides to return to the room and inspect for any signs of blood, finding none. He then proceeds to remove any unnecessary items, such as Varun's broken phone. While doing so, Rambabu discovers Varun's SIM card. Drawing on his knowledge from movies, he realizes that cell phone signals can be used to track a person's location. So, he deduces that wherever a person travels with their mobile phone, the nearby location of the tower will be visible. Now, Rambabu suggests to his wife and daughters that they should stay at home, close all the doors, and ensure nobody knows they are inside the house. Rambabu approaches Varun's car and attempts to get inside. Meanwhile, Inspector Vera, who is nearby, attempts to solicit a bribe from another person. As Rambabu tries to open the car, it makes a noise, alerting Vera to Rambabu's presence near Varun's car. Vera is unsure if it is Rambabu or not. Somehow, Rambabu manages to drive the car out of the city. While traveling in Varun's car, Rambabu, recalling the movies he has watched, tries to devise a solution to hide the car. He decides that the best course of action is to submerge the car in water. While traveling, Rambabu stops Varun's car in front of a mobile phone store and buys a new phone, transferring Varun's SIM card into it. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back to Inspector General Geeta, who recalls her son and attempts to call Varun. As soon as Rambabu inserts the SIM card into the new mobile phone, he receives a call from Varun's mother. He panics and hangs up the call. While on the road, he spots a transport truck and throws the mobile phone onto it. Finally, Rambabu finds a spot and submerges Varun's car in the water. After these events, Rambabu returns to his office and informs his assistant that he will be out of town for the next 2 days. When the assistant inquires about his destination, Rambabu mentions he's going to one of the temples his wife often suggests visiting. Suddenly, the assistant notices Rambabu's tense demeanor and asks why he appears worried. Rambabu swiftly changes his mood and behaves normally, realizing that people can discern his state of mind based on his expressions. Rambabu returns home and behaves as if nothing has happened, but his family remains tense. They ask him why he appears so calm and unconcerned. Rambabu inquires about the cause of their anxiety, and they mention Varun's car. Confused, Rambabu asks who Varun is to his family, and they clarify that they are referring to Varun's car. Rambabu then suggests that they should pretend not to know who Varun is from now on to avoid attracting police attention due to fear. Over the next 2 days, they travel to another city and visit a temple as Rambabu's wife usually asks him to do. They stay at a hotel, dine at a restaurant, and watch a movie. Finally, after 2 days, they return home. Upon their return, while Rambabu's wife and children are still staring at Varun's grave, Rambabu comes in solemnly, closes the window, and advises them not to look at Varun's grave anymore. He suggests keeping receipts for all their purchases from now on. Now the scene shifts to Inspector Geeta, who becomes suspicious when Varun doesn't answer his phone. She begins to investigate and discovers that Varun's phone signals were in different locations at different times. Unaware that Rambabu threw Varun's phone on a transport truck, Geeta doesn't suspect foul play in Varun's disappearance. Instead, she assumes that Varun might have gone to a friend's house. One day, 2 friends were swimming in the water when they spotted a car, which turned out to be Varun's car. Upon discovering this, Geeta also learns that Varun's car has been found in the river. Her subordinate begins to investigate the matter and informs Geeta that the phone signals were detected in different locations at different times, with the signals being turned on in one place and turned off in another. He expresses suspicion about this pattern. Additionally, the subordinate reveals that the signals detected on the first day were from one mobile device, while those detected on August 2nd were from a different mobile device, each with different IMEI numbers. Varun's father becomes increasingly anxious and urges Geeta to conduct a thorough investigation. Meanwhile, Varun's photo is distributed to all other police stations. During this time, Rambabu rebukes his associate for failing to pay his building tax, mentioning that it should have been paid on August 2nd, the day he went to the temple. The scene shifts to a police station where the police inform other officers that the person in the photo is Varun, whose mobile phone signals were detected in their city 2 weeks ago. They also show a picture of Varun's car to their subordinates. Inspector Veera recalls seeing that car with Rambabu. Now, Inspector Veera becomes more suspicious of Rambabu. One day, as Rambabu drinks tea at a local tea shop, Veera approaches the tea shop owner to buy some cigarettes. Veera casually mentions that someone submerged a yellow car in a river. Suddenly, Rambabu looks tense upon hearing this. Throughout the encounter, Veera stares at Rambabu, carefully observing his reactions. Eventually, Veera becomes convinced that something is amiss and suspects that Rambabu might be involved in the incident. Afterward, Veera informs his higher officer that he suspects Rambabu's involvement. He mentions seeing Rambabu getting into Varun's car. However, his higher officer dismisses Veera's suspicions, citing the past clashes between Rambabu and Veera. The higher officer believes that Vera might be trying to implicate Rambabu in the case unfairly. Now Rambabu returns home and trains his children, explaining that the police may come to question them and may even resort to torture. He emphasizes the importance of sticking to the same story and not providing any incorrect answers. Meanwhile, during their investigation, the police discover that Varun had attended a nature camp 2 weeks ago, along with other students from the same city, including Rambabu's older daughter, Anju. They begin by interrogating Anju separately at her school, where she responds to their questions without fear. Later, the police visit Rambabu's house to interrogate his wife. Coincidentally, Rambabu arrives home at the same time. Both Rambabu and his wife appear tense, but Rambabu manages to remain composed and answers all the police's questions confidently. Inspector Geeta asks Rambabu and his family to come to her office for interrogation. Each family member is placed in a separate room and questioned individually. Despite the police's attempts to ask questions in various formats, all the family members remain steadfast in their responses, providing correct answers. In the interrogation room, while the family members are being questioned, Geeta observes everything from a monitor. Outside the police station, Rambabu's brother-in-law, Rajesh, arrives with a group of people, causing chaos and shouting about how someone can take an entire family in for questioning without a warrant. Geeta still harbors doubts about Rambabu's family, questioning how they can be so confident and unwavering in their answers without displaying any fear. She suggests to her subordinate to bring in every person associated with Rambabu and interrogate them. As Geeta investigates each person known to Rambabu, she finds that everyone speaks highly of him. Now, Geeta becomes more suspicious of Rambabu. After learning from people that Rambabu is an avid movie watcher, she begins to suspect that Rambabu deliberately misled everyone by claiming he was not in town on August 2nd and returned after 2 days. Due to Rambabu's friendly nature and his consistent assertion that he was not in town on August 2nd, everyone remembers his absence on that day. Finally, Geeta realizes that Rambabu fabricated that particular day. Geeta explains Rambabu's actions to her subordinates. She reveals that on August 3rd, Rambabu used Varun's car, picked up a parcel from a tiffin center, bought a new mobile phone, inserted Varun's SIM card, and threw it on a national permit truck. Later, he submerged Varun's car in a river. Following this, he collected restaurant bills for 4 people, purchased 4 movie tickets for a matinee show, and then returned home. He then went to his office and informed his assistant that he was going to the temple. Subsequently, they traveled by bus, visited a theater, went to a restaurant, and went to the temple. But all of this occurred on August 4th, not on August 2nd. This revelation leads Geeta to conclude that Rambabu orchestrated this day to create an alibi. After these revelations, Geeta brings Rambabu's family back to the police station for interrogation, this time without a warrant. She instructs Vera to use force to extract the truth from Rambabu. Meanwhile, Rambabu's brother-in-law gathers the media and stages a protest outside the police station. Additionally, female constables physically assault Rambabu's wife and daughter during the interrogation process. After questioning one of Varun's friends, Geeta learns about the relationship between Varun and Rambabu's older daughter, Anju. The friend reveals that he took a video of Anju while she was changing her clothes. Sensing a breakthrough, Geeta dismisses everyone from her office except Vera and instructs him to stay alone. Once alone, she orders Vera to physically assault Rambabu and his family. Later, Geeta sends Rambabu, his wife, and his older daughter Anju outside, keeping only her elder daughter inside the room. When Vera tries to intimidate her elder daughter, she can't bear the pressure and agrees to reveal the truth. Rambabu's elder daughter discloses to the police the location where Varun's body is buried. Police, accompanied by the media, arrive at the burial site and begin digging. Upon uncovering the pit, a foul odor emanates from it, leading everyone to believe they have found Varun's body. However, upon closer inspection, it turns out to be the body of a pig. Subsequently, Rambabu steps forward and voluntarily reveals the truth to the media. Without any justification, police officer Veera and his accomplices tortured Rambabu and his family. Eventually, the court intervenes and decides to suspend Veera from duty and transfer every police officer involved in the case. After all this, one day while Rambabu and his wife are sitting together, Rambabu's wife asks him when he changed the body. He responds that he changed the body on the same day they buried Varun. She then asks where he changed it. The scene cuts to a flashback where Rambabu is seen digging and burying Varun's body. He tells his wife that no one should know about this, not even her. After this, a police officer comes to Rambabu's house and delivers a message that Gita and her husband Prabha want to meet him separately. Prabha expresses deep regret for what they have done to Rambabu and apologizes. He explains that Gita resigned from her job due to guilt, and they plan to leave the city. Prabha also inquires if there's any chance of their son Varun returning. Rambabu remains silent until Gita and Prabha return to their car. Then, Rambabu begins to speak indirectly, sharing wise words about admitting mistakes being a noble act. He narrates a story about a guest who threatened his family and admits to sending that guest away. It's implied that he confesses to killing Varun. Rambabu expresses remorse and apologizes to Gita and Prabha. The scene then shifts back to the beginning, showing Rambabu sitting in a police station where an officer warns him that the investigation is ongoing and advises against trying to escape. The final scene cuts to him emerging from a newly constructed police station, revealing that the body is buried beneath it. If you've watched the video so far, I hope you liked it. If yes, please like, share, and subscribe to the video. This is only part 1 of the movie. Stay tuned for part 2. Take care.